But I really want to get back on a big high because I want to talk about the official Creative Outlet Podcast Brandon Pudwell Seal of Approval Game of the Year. So, I want to clarify, there are going to be 3 categories, not 2 categories, as I kind of alluded to last time talking about the Clubhouse Games review, but there are going to be 3 categories. The categories are as follows. There's the 2020 Release of the Year. There's the Personal Game of the Year. And the category that I added as I was writing this earlier is the Backlog MVP. So, let's talk about the rules. So for the 2020 Release of the Year, that should be pretty self-explanatory. It's what game came out in 2020 that was my favorite. So any nominees that were eligible for the 2020 Release of the Year were not able to be chosen for my personal game of the year, which again is pretty self-explanatory. Which game did I play in the year 2020 that I felt was the most important for me? And then the Backlog MVP is a category for the games that I have not yet played that I want to most cross off on my list next. So let's start with the nominees for the 2020 Game or Release of the Year. The games are Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, Super Mario Bros. 35, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and Ninjala. Honorable mentions should go to Speed Dating for Ghosts and To the Moon. Now, they could have been chosen for Personal Game of the Year, but the reason they get honorable mentions is that the Switch versions of these 2 games were originally released in 2020, so they were technically eligible, but I only wanted to give them honorable mention because they were released in 2020 but not released in 2020 at the same time. And as much as I really enjoyed playing To the Moon and enjoyed playing Speed Dating for Ghosts, which are both fantastic independent games, they really did not quite hit the level of personal game of the year for me. So for all of these, I want to give a basic explanation, other than for one of them, including the honorable mentions just now, and ultimately tell you which one was my game of the year. So Super Mario Bros. 35 and Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics are both games that I talked about extensively in episode 6, so I would recommend listening to those to get a more detailed synopsis of them. But the idea of Super Mario Bros. 35, for example, is it's a Battle Royale Super Mario Bros. You are running through Super Mario Bros., and so are 34 other players, and every enemy you defeat gets sent to the other players. And ultimately, you want to be the person who lasts the game the longest out of those 35, and then you win. Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics is a collection of 51 board, card, and other toys and other types of games. And again, I recommend checking out episode 6 for the more in-depth review of that game. Animal Crossing New Horizons has had a ton of coverage on this show, so you can check out most any episode and probably hear something about it in there. It is a life simulation game where you end up on a deserted island and need to build it up with whatever animal friends join you on the island and live out life. You get to collect bugs, fish, fossils, build up a museum, and ultimately have a creative, relaxing community. Ninjala is a game, it's a Splatoon-like, but not quite like game, where you try to gain the most points by KOing opponents with your ninja weapons and your ninja gum. And it's really hard to explain. I'm going to be perfectly honest. As far as the honorable mentions, To the Moon is a story-based RPG Maker game where you follow characters Dr. Neil Watts and Dr. Eva Rosaline, who are trying to help an old man named Johnny they literally hook up a helmet and go through his memories to understand why he desires for his final wish to be to go to the moon. And I don't want to really give too many spoilers because it's a really great game and you should pick it up. And I love it, and I'm really excited that Finding Paradise, the sequel, is coming to the Switch this year. But I digress. And then Speed Dating for Ghosts is it kind of does what it says in the title. It is a game where you are the player, become a ghost, and you are invited to speed date with 9 other ghosts. And inevitably, it's essentially a conversation simulator where you're going through and you're learning about the pasts of what these ghosts were like when they were living, breathing creatures. And inevitably, you go out on dates with them and learn even more about them there. So as far as the winner, I let's give a little pause here. I'll give a little drum roll. I need a drink too. My voice is so... I can't talk for 2 hours straight. I need a co-host for this exact reason. But I talked about it in episode 6. I think it's pretty clear that as far as, for me, the 2020 release of the year is going to be Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. And again, I don't know if I said this in the last episode, but let's put it like this. Animal Crossing came out 3 months before Clubhouse, and I've played both of them for the exact same amount of hours, despite having 3 more months to play Animal Crossing. Both of them are at about 65 hours worth of play. A lot of the problem with the other games, I find, is that they have... Like, all of them have one major flaw, but what Clubhouse has about its major flaw that the other ones don't have is that they don't stick out to me so much that they make me sometimes not want to go back to it. So for Clubhouse, the big omission with it is the lack of so many 4-player compatible games. But I mostly play in single player. And again, like I said in the review, all of the games are so, like, well-paced and crafted. I mean, it's hard to mess up 51 long-lasting worldwide games, obviously. I don't know, I had the most fun with it. That's why it's my 2020 release of the year. Can it just be that simple that I had the most fun with it? The other games, though, while I've had fun, they have major problems. So Super Mario Bros. 35 is fun, but it's still ultimately Super Mario Brothers, which is great. I like the original Super Mario Brothers, and I like that they made edits to it as far as things like changing the physics to better help you jump on enemies in succession. But I'm also not going to be able to play it after March 31st, Nintendo. I talked about that in the Mario 35 anniversary / Nintendo Direct Drought segment. The game should be playable for longer than... like 6 months. Animal Crossing New Horizons. Again, to me, even with all the updates, the game still feels unfinished. If only because there's no sets to collect. And I'm not a big, like, crafting game fan. And then Ninjala, it's the main problem that I found with it was that, I mean, you could tell I struggled explaining it because it's trying to take the approach of being easy to understand and hard to master, but Ninjala really isn't that easy to understand. Like, again, the basic gist of it is you knock your 7 other opponents out and you gain points, and you win by having the most points. But when you get into some of the deeper mechanics of it, as far as, like, your special attacks and all that sort of stuff, and doing things like the parrying system, the game simply doesn't explain it. Like, I was thinking about it earlier today, and I was trying to figure out, God, how do I describe Ninjala on here? And really, the reason I feel like I don't understand it so well is because its main problem is it lacks something that too many AAA games do have too much of, where so many AAA games over-tutorialize how to play them. Ninjala has no tutorial, and it has no manual, so there's not a lot of opportunity to really practice and understand the basics of how the game works. Although, obviously, it still made it into the 6 games that I would potentially pick for Game of the Year 2020, so it can't be that bad. You know, it's still a fun game. I really haven't felt the need to go back to it, and that's pretty upsetting. And it's fun, but it's not so fun that I want to constantly go back to it, whereas, you know, Clubhouse Games was so fun that I constantly want to keep playing it either by myself, if I just want to quick do a game of solitaire, do some mahjong solitaire, or if I want to go play online and do a few 5 frames of bowling rounds, or if I want to play sevens or president. And one of the great things about it is that it taught me so many new games, like president, like sevens, like Mancala. I'd never played Mancala really seriously until I picked out Clubhouse Games. And really, that final aspect of really coming to appreciate something new is also the reason for my personal Game of the Year choice. So my personal Game of the Year came out in 2019. At least the Switch version did. In a way, it could have been a release of 2020 because it was released again on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One just after the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X came out, as well as a new re-release on Steam in 2020. Although it originally came out for the West in 2018 and originally came out in Japan in 2017. I'm sure by that description there's some people who have already figured it out. My personal Game of the Year is Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. And really my reason for picking Dragon Quest XI's is, like I said, it got me to appreciate something new. So I haven't really played too many role-playing games in my day. In fact, I'd say really the only role-playing games I've truly played are the Mario RPGs. And even then, I haven't finished too many. I finished Super Paper Mario, and I finished Paper Mario Sticker Star, and then I finished Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story and Mario & Luigi Dream Team. And even then, Sticker Star isn't really an RPG, and Super Paper Mario is kind of an RPG. And as far as other role-playing games I've played, there aren't really too many out there. Like Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is kind of a strategy RPG, but not really. And even that's still technically a Mario RPG. And I've played a little bit of Earthbound on my SNES Classic, but I haven't played a ton of Earthbound. Dragon Quest XI's, on the other hand, I've put about 15 hours into. And I know that's still the start of the game, I just haven't had really a ton of time to go back and play it. But it really got me to appreciate what a turn-based JRPG can be. And really, this stretches back even into 2019 when I started with the demo. I basically finished the 10-hour demo this year and had so much fun with it that I was ready to pick up a copy, and then I played about 5 more hours to it, and then I got distracted with other games and, life. And I wish I knew how to describe it. If I could do a review of it, I would, but like I said, I'm only 15 hours into this, like some 100-odd hour adventure. I don't know. Really, the thing about it is it not only helped me gain an appreciation for the genre of the role-playing game, but it really helped me learn more about the Dragon Quest series as a whole. So, for example, not too long after I started playing it, I actually ordered over the holidays a physical copy of the Switch versions of Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3. And right now, I just have to beat the final boss in Dragon Quest 1. That's right, I've almost finished a whole nother RPG in like 2 weeks. And granted, obviously, Dragon Quest 1 is only like an 8-hour game, whereas like the further I get along in the series, they're going to get like 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, 100 hours once I finally continue on with Dragon Quest 11S. So, again, this is part of the experiment in trying to do more improvisation. I really wish I knew how to describe the game better, as far as like why I specifically picked 11S. I think, so part of it, one of my major concerns with a lot of RPGs is how many of them are trying to go full-on open world. In fact, that's why, still to this day, one of the games I don't have on the Switch is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I know, shocker, like basically one of the defining titles, the defining launch title on the system, for sure, I still don't even own. And it's because I would too easily get lost. Dragon Quest XI's keeps like it does kind of an open world, but it's like like it takes almost a Super Mario Odyssey like approach. So Super Mario Odyssey has open worlds, but they're single level open worlds, if that makes sense. Each kingdom itself is a small open world. And Dragon Quest XI so far at least, has done similar things. I know later on you basically get like a boat or some kind of like, you'll get like a flying airship or maybe like a flying beast of some kind later in the game that lets you go across the whole world. But it does a very good job of segmenting its open world so that it's easily digestible for someone like me who's like, God, I don't know if I could like really follow this super well. And then the battles, for example, that's the thing in RPGs that I've always liked the most are the turn-based battles. Like, I just like having a nice, simple, sit down and beat up a bunch of enemies type of thing. And you can do that. You can fight, you can defend, you can cast spells. I just like the simplicity. In fact, as much as I don't like Pokemon, like I would love to play Pokemon Stadium, for example, because all Pokemon Stadium is just the battles, and that's the part of Pokemon that I like. I like the battles. I like turn-based battles. So I hope maybe that helps describe it a little better. For the graphics, I've always wanted to consume more stuff that's like Akira Toriyama style, but I've never really had the opportunity or desire to consume Dragon Ball because there's so many episodes and chapters of mangas and different like things for it, and it's too big of a thing for me. It'd be like trying to learn about Star Wars, even though I know Star Wars really isn't all that big either, as far as like how many pieces of media there are. But Dragon Quest only has 11 mainline games, technically 10 in the West because we never got Dragon Quest X. And it's a pretty looking game. Like, it's a gorgeous game. Although I understand people's frustration now with the new versions of 11S on Xbox One and PS4 and PC technically being visually downgraded from the original version of 11 because Dragon Quest 11S had to accommodate to continue to receive, I don't remember if it's 30 or if it's 60 frames on Switch, but it had to accommodate for the Switch to be able to run it well. Also, I like the music, especially because in the S version you actually get the orchestrated music. Not that the MIDI versions sound that bad. Again, check out the Stop Skeletons from Fighting video on the music, but like I can... there's a lot of Dragon Quest music that actually sticks out as being very, very catchy. Whether in 11, I love the battle theme. I really like the main overworld song. A lot of the towns have really good music. Like I really like the town of Hoto, although I don't know if it's Hato or Hoto, actually. But I believe that's actually also a remix from a prior Dragon Quest game. I'm trying to think of other music in the game that I really like. There's not a ton other ones that I can really think of. I'm sure there's going to be other remixes from the rest of the series in there as well that are really good as well. Actually, here's another good thing, just one of those little things. I like how there are visual costumes and there are armor upgrades. So it's like I can continue increasing my stats, but also make my character not just be the same boring looking model the entire game. And, little things like that also add up. I would recommend checking out some other Dragon Quest XI's reviews as well to probably get a better, deeper understanding of why the game is so good. I can't improvise why I enjoy it so much. And that brings us to our final nominees here, which are the nominees for Backlog MVP, which again is a category for the backlog games that I most want to cross off of the list next year. So these are just 5 of the games. Really, I could pick a gazillion other games that I haven't started, but these are just a few that stuck out to me. God, anyways, we have Untitled Goose Game, New Super Lucky's Tale, Catherine, Full Body, as well as Mad Father and Murder by Numbers. So each of the, I'm going to be honest, all of these are completely different games, but I really want to try them all out. So New Super Lucky's Tale is another simple like level-based 3D platformer in the Lucky series. I picked it up in like a year ago at this point on sale because there was a game store closing in my college town, so I got a good deal on it. Untitled Goose Game was one of the big games of 2019. It's a stealth game where you're a goose trying to make life miserable for a bunch of English townsfolk. And I find that interesting. And now it's co-op too, so I've wanted to try it out because it was a big thing. I got it physically too. Mad Father is a horror RPG Maker game where you play as a little girl whose house has suddenly become haunted with a bunch of beasts, and it's, your father has just been down in his lab doing all sorts of weird experiments. You get to figure out what he's been up to. Murder by Numbers is a very like Ace Attorney-like game, which is good because I like Ace Attorney, in that you're figuring out a few murder cases with your robot companion. But in order to decipher pieces of evidence, the robot companion clears them up with Picross puzzles. So Picross, if you don't know, those are, I think they're also called like pictograms. It's, you have like numbers on the side and numbers on the top, and you have to figure out like, okay, which squares in this grid do I fill in? And inevitably it makes an image. Finally, there's Catherine Full Body, which it's so hard to pick which one of these I want to actually declare the winner, but if I had to pick one, I'm actually gonna go with Catherine of all games, and here's why. I was interested in this game even going as far back as when the original was released on the Xbox 360 and the PS3 back in the early 2010s. It's like a puzzle, somewhat platformy game by Atlas, where during the main portions of the game, you're climbing up this giant tower where you have to move blocks just to not be swallowed by the giant monster at the bottom. But you might be wondering, well, what the heck does that have to do with Catherine? Why are you trying to escape to the top of this tower, right? And that's because the monster that you're escaping from is one of the Catherines. And you might be wondering, wait, what do you mean one of the Catherines? How is there more than one Catherine? Well, that gets into the daytime portions of the game. So that's like the nighttime portion. During the day, you are playing as this like, mid-20s guy named Vincent who has been going steady with his girlfriend Catherine with a K. But suddenly he's been having these weird, strange occurrences with this girl Catherine with a C. And then in the full body version, which is the Switch and PS4 versions, he's also there's also a third Catherine with a Q. So that's one that I've been interested in in trying a lot. Again, I can't give like a super great long explanation of them of any of these games because I haven't played them. I want to play them. But Catherine is the one that sticks out the most to me because it's been like 7 or 8 years that I've been wanting to play this game, and now I finally have the opportunity to do so. So those are the final games of the year that get the Creative Outlet Podcast seal of approval. 2020 release of the year for me is Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. My personal game of the year, the one that really stuck with me the most, I mean, even though Clubhouse also stuck with me a lot, it would be Dragon Quest XI-S, Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. And as far as the Backlog MVP, the one that I really hope I can cross off my list next is going to be Catherine Full Body. A whole strong variety of games came out in 2020 in the end. Even when I was saying, like in the last episode, by September, there really hadn't been a ton of variety. I mean, you have to look at how many games I did end up purchasing. I actually had a pretty decent variety as far as physical games and even digital titles as well. So that should cover up that topic. And then we're going to start moving into the less gamey types of topics, ones that aren't going to have so much B-roll when I go into editing, which should also hopefully make this be able to come out a little bit faster, ideally within the week. God, I need a co-host so I can talk a little bit loud.